Hello.
Does
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to come up or not.
Does everybody need a minute to like hug or just like console your neighbor? That was fantastic, was it not?
Yeah.
I think we did obviously, you know, this film is very unique because we've never seen a film deal with cancer in this way, where it's someone who's young. You know, it's kind of a touchy subject if it's ever dealt with in film, but especially kind of our generation and our age. But it's so relievingly funny in a way that's not over the top, but just perfect. Can you talk about just that element of the film and kind of playing within that?
Yeah, well, I would say when I was told there's the script and it's a comedy about cancer, it made me a little nervous. You know, certainly the really helpful piece of information was knowing that it was based on the screenwriter's real experience. So, you know, you didn't feel like some asshole just wrote this you know, is being really inappropriate about something serious. You know, this is one person's take on what he actually lived through, and you know, I think the balance of that humor and making sure that it didn't feel forced came from the fact that he didn't write a cancer movie and then put jokes in it. You know, it felt like these you know, he just presents it in such a way where for the first time you think, oh yeah, that's actually really funny. I mean, it's so messed up that it's funny. You know, these something that he talked to me about was, you know, going to parties and having all his friends suddenly treat him like an alien and feel that they had to say something important, they had to say something profound, they had to give some terrible cliche piece of advice. And you know, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Kind of when all he really wanted was to be treated like a normal human being. You know, as his friends had always treated him. So, you know, I guess we tried to just always find the honesty and never try to play for laughs, because then you're in trouble. Then you're like being inappropriate about cancer.
It's kind of hard not to be funny, I guess, in a cast with, you know, Seth Rogen. Is this okay? And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's actually got really amazing comedic timing. You've had kind of the opportunity to work with a lot of great leading men. I mean, in every one of your films. Just talk about kind of being one of the only girls in a boys' world in this film.
It's not too bad. It was really fun, and it was also my first romantic, flirtatious role, and I did not realize how much work that it was. So I was really grateful to have Joe there as my kind of Sherpa for romantic scenes. You know, they make it look so easy. And you know, after 30 times of hearing the same thing, you're like, I do not find you charming anymore, but I have to pretend to. You know, so he was really great, and you know, I don't know, they definitely sort of embraced me when I came in. I was nervous that it was going to be a kind of boys' club, but everybody was really welcoming.
Sherpa of romance. I think I'm gonna have to take that and put it on a business card or
Joseph
something.
Gordon-Levitt,
Sherpa of romance. And another thing with some of your characters you play, it's I can see the parallels between, you know, your character and Up in the Air and 50/50, where you're kind of young and inexperienced in a very grown up role.
Yeah, I would say that in a weird way, Catherine is almost the sort of other side of the coin to my character in Up in the Air. You know, Natalie is sort of proud, ambitious. You know, she kind of is in it for all the wrong reasons, and Catherine is so excited about helping people that she kind of gets in her own way and is incapable of helping Adam at all at first. You know, I think she has a really big heart and she cares so much, and she, you know, is very young, and so she still makes the mistake of retreating into her textbooks when she's faced with a challenge. You know, I think she will be a good therapist at some point, but right now she's not very good at her job. But you know, when their relationship kind of breaks down into this friendship, you can see, or at least I hope you can see, you know, that she probably has a knack for this, and she probably has great instincts, and she just sort of lets, you know, the fact that she thinks she's supposed to know what she's talking about, and she's 24 and she doesn't, and she knows it, and she suspects that everybody else knows it, and it's just sort of tripping her up. But hopefully the you know, that friendship, and particularly that scene in the car, like things sort of break down and they start to realize that they kind of need each other and they can really help each other.
I'd love to open it up to the audience. Who wants to be the inevitable first person? Oh, great woman. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I loved you in Up in the Air. You were just great. And I did see a lot of similarities between these two characters. You come off as extremely educated and charming, but yet sort of awkward. And that's what I think we all love about you and your characters that you play. And do you think that you're that way in real life?
I am awkward in real life.
Please don't awkwardly touch me. I take it back. It was not awkward at all.
I can certainly relate to that. My mom told me in Toronto, she saw it for the first time, and she said that she saw the most of me on screen in this particular one. I think that's all those nervous mannerisms. So, you know, I guess that, like I was saying, that kind of other side of the coin, you know, I think I have fun playing characters like I did in Up in the Air, because they say all the things I wish I could say, and they're strong in a way that I wish I could be. And so I really loved, you know, that Catherine is also awkward, but she's so vulnerable and she's so lost, and that's so on the surface. You know, her facade of confidence is so thin that's what I found really endearing. So I guess I tried to just allow myself to be lost. It was almost a little scary because I was drawing on so much of what I was going through. You know, I was projecting so much of that kind of worry that you don't know what you're talking about, and you're you know, we're all at that age sort of trying to fool everyone into thinking that we're functioning adults when we're not, and that made this easy to relate to for me. You know, I had a ton of fun playing Natalie in Up in the Air, but that is not who I am. You know, this is probably a lot closer to who I am.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Jonathan and Will and Seth actually had, like, you were their instant choice for this role, correct?
I never know. I never know if they just say that kind of thing.
Well, that's what the production note said, so.
Yeah, I mean, and Will has told me that, and that's, you know, that's unbelievable. That's so sweet, and I just couldn't be happier about that. This role, they offered it to me right before Christmas, so I think of it as a Christmas present. Oh.
Yes, sir, in the back.
Well, I didn't actually see her shoot any of her scenes, for example, so it's not as though I was, you know, actively trying to be, you know, in any way a polar opposite to her performance. You know, certainly they're written very differently, and I guess we all just try to put our own spin on that kind of thing. But I think there was actually a draft of the script where when Catherine drops Adam off at his house, you know, that scene where I drop him off, that she's there, that Rachel is there, and that's, you know, when she's saying, like, I'm here to get my stuff. And I was really dreading that scene because I was thinking, like, oh, are we having like a Mexican standoff, like over, you know, over Adam? So I was really happy that those two worlds were separate. So I guess I tried not to think about it, actually. So if there are mannerisms that seem intentionally polar opposite, then maybe that was just subconscious on both our parts.
Yes, sir.
Okay, come up with a good question because I really want you to just to say you're a wonderful actress, and I've never seen a moment that you do that's not real in any of your films.
Thank you
There's
so
no-
much.
there's- Anyway, did you do research as far as what somebody studying psychology or being in that role would do in terms of dealing with death, and how did you apply that to the role?
Could everybody hear the question?
No.
Did she do research in terms of what someone in her position would do dealing with cancer and death?
Yeah, I did. I met with a woman who did work similar to what Catherine does in the movie, and she was really helpful, and she went through the whole script with me. She actually wrote out an entire file as though Adam were her patient. She went through the script and wrote out this file, that I could sort of refer to, which was incredible. But I think most importantly, she very generously talked to me a lot about all the mistakes that she felt she made when she was just starting. I mean, she was still very young, but old enough to have a little perspective, and she sort of gave me a crash course in what not to do. And Catherine does sort of all of those things. She makes every bad decision. So, that was the really helpful thing. I did ask her at some point if she had ever had a problem with having feelings for a patient and what would she do in that situation. And she didn't really want to go there, but she said that she'd never had a patient her own age, so that wasn't an issue. But I dread the moment. I know it's coming, but I dread the moment that I run into a psychologist who says, like, I would never date a patient, and that your character is so unprofessional. So, Joe and I were never really sure how to deal with that because neither of us wanted to be the one to initiate that, because I was having a panic attack about my character being really unprofessional, and he was freaking out about his character not respecting the fact that I'm a professional woman and thinking of me romantically. It's sort of sweet when I think about it now.
Well, I think you're showing that she was a really good, talented doctor who happened to really care about it.
Right, a talented doctor in the making, hopefully. But
you
that
really
right
did
now
it.
it's all going pear-shaped. Yeah.
Gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, all right? You guys have never heard that before, apparently. I made it up, so there we go. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
How many days did overall for the film to shoot? And I'm assuming Seattle or is it different locations and they just used the Seattle hospital?
We used Vancouver.
Okay.
Sad to say. And it wasn't the Seattle hospital, it was the Vancouver hospital, and we put some lettering on it that said it was the Seattle hospital.
Movie magic. Movie magic.
Yeah, I always feel weirdly guilty when I'm in a movie that substitutes locations. I feel like it's my dirty little secret. But yeah, we shot it in Vancouver. I don't know how long the shoot was. We had very little money, so it was very short. And my scenes in particular were quite short because a lot of it was in that office. And so we would shoot, day after day in the office, every scene. So that was a real challenge for for me, but particularly for Joe, because in a matter of days, he went from being a relatively, feeling anyway, healthy young man to being, convinced that he is about to die. And, that was, it was a great situation in terms of shooting inside, just two actors talking about their feelings is a lot nicer than shooting out in the rain with special effects and stuff. But for him, I'm sure that was really challenging, and I think that makes it all the more impressive.
Yes, ma'am.
Who named this 50-50, and what exactly, what have I missed that I didn't understand 50-50?
Well, 50-50 are his chances of survival. When he looks up online what the chances of survival are for this disease, it's 50-50. So, it's, the title was actually, and Seth Rogen says this in interviews, that when people ask him what was the most difficult part of making this film, he says coming up with the title. Because initially, the title, when Will started writing the script, it was called How I Learned Nothing from Cancer. And then it was called I'm with Cancer. When I came on board, it was called I'm with Cancer. And it was, it was kind of a title to let readers know that it was a comedy and it's okay to laugh. And, once the movie was finished, it didn't feel appropriate anymore because it wasn't glib. It's funny, but it's not glib. So it was a real struggle coming up with the title, but yeah, 50-50 just is his chances of survival.
It's an element, it's sad, but a lot of us have had family or friends that have had cancer. It's something that a lot of people have experienced, and there are times where you just have to laugh. I mean, it's literally so uncomfortable that you could either break down and lose it, or you could laugh. And I think this film perfectly captures that in a really therapeutic way, almost. It's very easy to connect to this film.
Yeah, I think just from seeing Will Reiser, our screenwriter, the reaction that he gets after screenings, just lines of people wanting to come up to him and open up to him and share their story. So I guess that has eased my, fears from 2 years ago that, I couldn't possibly do a comedy about cancer. So yeah, I mean, it's unavoidable. It's touched everybody's life in some way. And, I guess just from watching people come up to Will, I'm really pleased with the reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised nobody's asked about Skeletor yet. I know there's somebody out there, start thinking of a good Skeletor question. Do you have a question about Skeletor? No. Okay, next person. I'm just kidding. What's your question?
Did you get any downtime with Angelika Houston? It looks like you probably had 1 day of shooting.
She was amazing.
I only had 1 day of shooting with her, and I attacked her. I'm sure that she thinks I'm insane. I just sort of latched onto her and followed her around all day. And we just talked about books and stuff. I don't even know. I was sort of, at one point I got up the courage to say that watching The Dead was one of my sort of Christmas traditions with my family, and she that's not that weird. It's James Joyce. It's not. Those of you out there laughing, I assume you think it's a horror film, and it's not. And she talked about working with her dad a little bit, and I just thought, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. But she is, hands down one of the loveliest women around, I think.
Okay, I think we have time for, we'll do your question, and then I'll round it out with my question. All right, yes ma'am.
Well, first, obviously, a compliment. I've never been in this type of an arena with US, A Film Festival or whatever it's called. First, I just appreciate you coming. One is just, I'm really just at awe that Hollywood is finally making an edgy front-runner, young, articulate 20-something, which obviously you are. We just go to a lot of movies, my husband and I'm so tired of the monotonous of the dumb blonde or the quirky character where you get, hypothetically, an actor, actress, where they play the same character over and over. Your character is so intriguing in both an Up in Air and 50 and 50. You're playing this just really articulate, well-educated, and you're quirky, you're so darn likable, and obviously you are in front of all of us. And so kind of an honest question. So to get these types of roles and to be in front of the type of audience, and obviously you're going to be moving a lot of places, you've got an incredible future. What does it take for somebody to be so young in Hollywood where it's so stereotypical for you to get that edge and to get that script where you have been presented with such an amazing character, which we haven't seen, which is so delightful and refreshing. So how did that come about to get a really great script versus a comedy that's been there, done that?
Did everybody hear that question? Basically, to sum it up, how are you so awesome?
Okay, ready? I guess the questions about the roles that I've had, and I have been very lucky with the roles that I've gotten, and I appreciate you even starting that by saying it's an honest question, and I will try to give you an honest answer, which is that those roles are few and far between, and when a script comes out and a role like this is in it, we all kind of pig pile on it. So I've been really lucky, and other times unlucky. There's something I try to get out in front of, and I beg and plead, and it's sort of gone before I even throw my hat in the ring. So it's I don't know. I guess it's luck and it's timing and it's a lot of different things. But I feel really fortunate because I do read enough scripts to know that it's a tough market. So I don't know. I'm just grateful that Will and our director and Seth, thought to call me up one Christmas.
All right, sir. Last question from my audience, all the way in the back. Do you still have a question? Or-
Yeah, I was going to ask something like that, which was, when are you going to stop making quality films and be Transformers 5?
Well, they have to make a Transformers 4 first.
Oh man, I have to be careful how I answer that question.
Did you just get cast in Transformers 5?
No,
Okay.
no, I did not. No, I like 10 jokes popped in my head, and I just thought, "You be quiet, Anna. You're on
No,
camera."
just go for it. You're in Texas. It's okay.
I guess I don't. I mean, I know that's like a sarcastic question, but I guess what I've been trying to do is, because I've been so lucky, and there does feel like there's this pressure to always pick the perfect thing. I feel like I've been actually, if anything, trying to relax a little and choose things where I think I'll have fun making them, and people will have fun seeing them, hopefully. But that the period that I went through mentally, where I thought like I have to make impeccable films forever, otherwise I'll be strung up by my toes or something. To try to put that kind of thought out of my mind. So I will be making Transformers 5 immediately.
You heard it here first, guys. You heard it here first.
I think we've skipped Transformers 4, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying. But they're.
But I will only do 5.
Okay, well, film is beautiful because we can all sit in a room together and walk away with our own things. When you watch this film, what do you take away from it? I know that's such a broad question, but like, just as a viewer of this film.
Well, I guess it's a little like what I touched on before, which is something that I've tried to learn, in making the film, but really just talking to Will, that the next time, inevitably, the next time somebody that I'm close to is sick or is going through any kind of, personal trial, to just be their friend. And, if they want to have that deep conversation, absolutely, but, to not feel like I must tell them that one thing that gets them through this time. And also every time I see the movie, it makes me want to like call my mom and my best friend and go on a hike and like revel in a blade of grass and stuff like that. So I definitely, when I watch the movie, I go through all those things. But that's why I go to the movies. So I'm really proud of the movie.
Perfect answer, guys. Okay. She has a question, Katie. Is it okay? She's been like.
No.
One more. Make it good.
Is it about Skeletor?
You said it was like your first role in like a romantic kind of relationship. Were you kind of like, were you excited or bummed that the script ended before they were like,
Oh, that is a good question. That is a good question.
Okay. I'll tell you guys something. Initially the script ended with, it was a different scene with the ending. It wasn't like a different ending, but it was just sort of a different scene. And I wasn't in that scene, and it was, sort of implied that we, still had a relationship, whether it was a friendship or romantic, sort of ambiguous, but they decided to do this ending and to put me in the ending, and I got really nervous because every time anybody does reshoots on a movie, I just think like, I managed to make it the entire time without ruining a movie. Like, can we not risk it? So I was really not excited about doing like the end of the movie. And I read the scene and I read that line, like what now? And I just imagined Joe's face, and I was so excited about it. And we got there, and the proverbial studio, the suits, if you will, wanted to shoot some stuff beyond that moment, beyond where it cuts off, kind of sitting down, having the pizza and talking and kissing and it really felt like, no, that's like, have you read this? This is perfect. This is it. This is the end of the movie. And I got really nervous, and I really didn't want to kiss Joe at all. Especially because we'd known each other too long at that point, and I just thought, like, I was all insecure. I didn't want to have to kiss him. So I was actually glad we didn't shoot a kissing version, but we did shoot, kind of further into the date. So I was really pleased that they ended it where they wrote that they were going to end it. So in theory, obviously, Joe is totally, sexy face.
Babelicious.
It's not like I'm, but in.
Did you call him sexy face?
Sexy face? Is that not a word? Is that not a thing?
It is now.
But in execution, I was really nervous, and I really didn't want to kiss him. Like, in the moment, I got really nervous, so I was glad that I didn't have to. Oh, now I feel really bad.
When Pearl Jam starts playing, it gets me every time. I'm not kidding, guys. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you guys
Anna.
so much.
Thank you guys. The film opens September 30th. It's a type of film, as she said, we need more films like this. We need more characters like this. We need more films and characters that we can go and relate to, no matter what we've dealt with and how old we are. So if you like this, it is your responsibility as a movie lover to
Vote
go
every time you see a movie.
to go tell your friends. And if you didn't like it, just shut up. Like, just don't tell anybody. So, guys, drive safe. Have a good night. Thank you very much.